In the current demonstration, we use the statistical package R together with an add-on package called UsingR in order to construct regression lines for simple two-variable data sets. Let's first look at the data set we will use. Okay, so here is the Excel view of the data we use. The data contains the men's record in a 10-kilometer run as function of the year in which the record was achieved. The original data set has the sex because it contains data for both women and men. Here is just the male portion of the data set. Let's have a peek. There are 36 data points with the headings in the first row. The headings are sex, year, and record. Let's close the data set. I'd like you to observe that the data set is in the CSV format. The original data we started with was in the Excel format, so we saved it in the CSV format using the method discussed in one of the prior demos. Let's start up R. So here is the R package, and we'll load the data set in question. I will use the following method that works only on Windows. From the menu, we change the directory to the directory in which the data resides. And so I have to press OK. And so the directory now is the default directory for the files to be found is the directory I selected. Therefore, I can, for instance, do the following. I can call the command read CSV with which we are already familiar. Normally here I would have to use a full path of the file, but now it's sufficient to just type in the file name components. So if you recall, it was this. Okay, and so now X is the data set. The next step to do is to attach the data set. What this means is that the columns of the data set become normal vectors in R, somewhat normal vectors in R. So for instance, I can do the following. I can use the name of the first column or first variable in the data set and just get the content of the first column. I can say year, and so these will be the years over which the records were collected. And I can say records, actually record. And so I have all the variables, and I have I can get ready to perform the regression on the data set. In fact, we're interested in the regression line of record versus year. We need to make sure that UsingR is loaded. I'm assuming that I've already installed UsingR as in one of the previous demos. So in order to load the package, I find it in the list of packages to load, and I'm done. And now I can use the commands provided by the package. One of them is simple LM, as in simple linear model. And you have to provide the x component, the first variable and the second variable, to perform the regression on, and that suffices to draw the regression line. I'm going to tile the windows vertically so that my presentation, is more has two parallel windows. Because of the necessity to use a small screen size, there is this feeling of being cramped here, and the graphs don't look quite as pretty as on a bigger screen. But, well, if you do it on your own, on a bigger screen, the plots will be perfect. Nevertheless, as you can see, simple LM resulted in drawing a regression line and printing the equation of the regression line above the plot. If I want to include other, I can create a more detailed plot by doing show residuals. Show residuals equal t, or true, right? The default value for the keyword parameter show residuals is false. That means no residuals will be shown. If I do this extra step, I will get actually a detailed plot, which is somewhat unreadable due to the small screen size, but I can actually just view the plot, and as you see, it contains 4 components. The first component of the plot is the regression line, just as before. The second component is the plot of the residuals, and I have the histogram of the residuals, and finally I have sample quantiles that plotted versus theoretical normal distribution quantiles. This is the QQ plot discussed in one of the sections of chapter 1, which allows us to verify whether it's reasonable to assume that the data is normal. And so this is pretty much all that is needed to perform a simple regression analysis on 2 variables. Let's recall the command that we used to obtain a regression. So the command was simple.linear model, right? And the regression was of record on year, and we used show residuals equal true. Now regression can be saved in a variable in the following way. By the way, we can simply type temp and obtain, the coefficients of regression. That means the intercept and the coefficient at the variable x, in this case x is year. However, we can issue the command summary of temp to obtain more detailed information. This information includes the information about the distribution of the residuals, the 5-number statistical coefficients concerning the residuals. Please note that this isn't the original y variable, but these are the residuals. And in the next collection of numbers, I have the estimate of the intercept and the estimate of the coefficient, as well as some numbers that are not mentioned so early in our book as standard error of the intercept and standard error of the coefficient. let's ignore for now this collection of numbers. Let's jump to multiple r squared. That's the r squared number that's referred to in the book, and it's also obtained by using Excel. At this point, other more detailed coefficients like the f statistic are not going to be discussed. And so this just shows how to use the R statistical software together with the UsingR add-on in order to make the regression analysis as simple as possible, and at the same time contain complete information about regression that is useful now, like the r squared, as well as some coefficients that are important later on. F statistic is important in statistical tests. This ends the current demonstration.